Hello and welcome to Hey Moon Eyes. This is I want to say new visual novel, but I don't really know when it came out. I know that it is a work in progress, and I know that there is only like one chapter so far. And this is at the time of recording, which is May 16th. So if by the time that you end up seeing this, there's more than, I would probably have already read it too and recorded it, but yeah. Anyways, I don't really know much about what it's about, as with other visual novels that I start reading for the first time. I do know that they are the main protagonists. I do not know their names. I just know that they're the focus of the story. I don't know if there's any romance or the level of safe for workness there is. And yeah, I just saw it look pretty, and I know you guys like when I dangle little pretty things in front of your eyes. So I decided to read it. It did look nice, that aside, but yeah. Anyways, without further ado, let us begin Hey Moon Eyes. I wish that I could say something. What are the words that rend steel and glass? Tell me, and I will speak them. Tell me, and they will be the only words that I ever say again. Because unless the next words that I speak can destroy the broken and awful bones of this place and bring you back to me, I would rather not speak at all. A hollow, joyless laugh that does not rend steel or glass fills this terrible place. It does not belong here. I've always loved the way you talk. I will summon the masterworks of my people, of any people, and I will speak them to you each day, from sunrise to sunset. I will sing any verse, write any prose, whatever words you wish me to say, I shall say. My paws grow cold against the glass. If only you would open the door. I know you would. I take a deep breath, and your whole body shudders. You hide your eyes behind your cap and withdraw because we both know the words do not exist. But I have to do this. Spoken with the ironclad conviction of a man who knew that he was doing the right thing. It does not have to be you. Begging, pleading. Psst. Come on, Rev, really? A cry turns into a laugh, choked and pained, but a laugh nonetheless. You have always had that power. I suppose you would say, if it is to be done, then only I am smart enough and strong enough and handsome enough to do it. You might be smiling beneath your cap. That's a pretty good impression. I have come to know you, my fearless sailor. Yeah, you have. You're gonna be okay, I know it. He speaks before he can think. I will never be okay again. You sway on your feet and grip your chest. Your mouth hangs open and you search and search but cannot find the right words because they do not exist. Please don't say that. But it is too late to stop. He is not himself. He is afraid and angry, and he does not know the words that rend steel and glass. You will be gone and I will be alone. No, you gotta understand. How will I wake without you besides me? Revi, please listen. If I don't do this, then how will I be okay when you have lied to me? I didn't. I will be alone again. Without you, I have no home. After all that we built together, I cannot watch you go. They are pounding on the door again. A song becomes an anguished scream again. Rev! He would fall to his knees again, all ash and broken glass, again. Because you will not come home again. Hey! There you are through the glass with a faraway look in your eyes. Duncan, please. Moon Eyes. You stir memory to life and take a step backward, granting him a fleeting moment. He begs for it to last forever, but knows that it cannot. Come back, Duncan, do not go! What you looking at? Desperate and angry, scared, he claws at the glass, begging and pleading as you get further away. Duncan! Ears are ringing and fists are aching, and words still do not rend steel and glass, and screams are not words, and the words do not exist, and he can only cry out in desperation. Awash in it again. Brothers, home. What was? He sees it all. Again. To Duncan, my brother, the famous space explorer, and the biggest asshole in 2 galaxies. The only 2 smiling people in the bar raised their glasses together for a Rankus toast, but aside from one pitiful clap from a distant corner, the room was still. Geez, tough crowd. You shook your head and punched his shoulder. Then the both of you took a long drink. Good try. Yeah. Whatever. Cheers anyway. He raises his glass, but as you raise yours, he gasps and clutches his chest at the horror before him. What? Duncan? With a frown, you look into the clear glass and your brother's face on the other side. Yeah, I see the problem. Your glass. My glass. Yep, empty. Someone had better fix this, he said, not so subtly tilting his head towards the bar. You were unmoved. Instead, you leaned back and stretched. Get on that, buddy. I fetched the last round. He stuck his finger in your face. Fetched all the rounds. You swatted him away and rocked the chair back. I'm paying. You're fetching. You looked over his shoulder and smirked. There's a line, so step to it. Gary turned and nearly fell from his chair. Where were all these people when I was trying to do the cheers? In line. Or in their cups, he thought, pondering what was and what might, blissfully unaware of the cost of a drink and a smile. You're lucky that I love you. His tone was flat, but he smiled the whole time. It was fixed to his face like it must have always been there, and with his middle finger raised to you, he skulked off through the maze of tables and left you alone. You stared into the bottom of your glass, appraising your reflection or looking for something. Having failed to find it in your cup, you turned your gaze at the large window staring out into space. But there were no stars. They were all hidden by the titan of a ship sitting in the vastness. Scrawled upon its hull were hundred names in as many languages. You would remember none of them. Neither would he. What a thing was called mattered much less than what it did. The ship would carry its passengers and its names across the universe into a new galaxy, but you were not looking at this marvel of technology or the names you would forget. Instead, your eyes glittered with the warm light of the bar and held the reflections from the glass. Looking close, one could almost see what you were looking at. It was not the ship, no. You stared through the hole, the wires, the vents, and all the mechanical drudgery. Even through the stars beyond, you looked towards something in the distance. Something beyond the great symbol of unity, beyond the politics of its creation, at a place far away and magnificent. Whatever it was, it glittered in your eyes, and you wanted so badly to see it too. Your lips curled upward into a half smile, and you did not notice him staring as he tried to get a look at whatever you saw. You were lost in that beautiful and distant place that you did not hear the nervous clack, clack, clanking of hooves moving towards you. You did not look up even as he loomed over you and took one slow, deep breath. His presence fell over you and, begrudgingly, you turned towards him, not quite ready to leave that faraway place. You looked up at him, and your half-smile vanished and was replaced with an annoyed frown, and all the wonder in your eyes became contempt and annoyance. How dare he interrupt your peace? You impatiently tapped a finger on the base of your glass. The large oafish man just stared back, almost forgetting what he had to say in the face of you, and foolish as he was, he attempted to give you a name. "Hello, Moon Eyes." You raised an eyebrow and tilted your head. Your scowl made him feel small, yet he continued. "What do you see?" "What?" "You have moon eyes." You rolled your wrist in the air towards him, urging him to explain further. "The moon is in your eyes. They are blue, like the moon, and full of wonder. It's a compliment." "Blue and full of wonder?" Revi squirmed. Had he made a mistake? Was the metaphor lost in translation? "Yes, like the moon." "Am I misinformed? I had thought Earth's moon was blue, or is it silver?" He tugged at his braids in an effort to lose the knowledge, but nothing came. You searched his face for something, and it became so quiet that he failed to hear his thoughts over his heartbeat. "Wait. Oh my god, are you hitting on me? With that line?" You bent over the table and slammed it into your fist, bouncing the silverware and empty glasses. Your uproarious laugh drew somber eyes from across the still room. It seemed wrong in a place that was otherwise so sad. "Oh boy. Hey, Moon Eyes, what you looking at? That's new poetic. Better than I like your beard." Revi's shoulders slumped inwards and his tail whipped behind him, embarrassed. He was gonna say that next. But he was sturdy, durable, and refused to give up. "You're handsome, and I would like to buy you a drink, Moon Eyes." "This is customary when courting a human, yes? Or perhaps you would prefer flowers? Chocolates?" You whistled. "Bold, I'll grant you that." "I heard that humans appreciate boldness in their partners. So tell me, how do I earn your company?" You sat upright and drummed the table. He had challenged you, and despite the mood of the evening, you could not help but answer. "I'm a whiskey guy, not a flower guy. Candies, all right. What's your name, verse?" How intriguing, he thought, that someone would ask him for his verse outside the Pardachi cluster. Seeking to show you that he would make a good mate, he puffed out his chest, smiled and tilted his head upright to show you his tusks. "I am Revi of Pardachi who remembers. It is my great honor to make your acquaintance." You ran your fingers around the rim of your glass and considered the man before you. Revi smiled, but his anxiousness grew. You tilted your chin and smiled wide, mirroring the greetings of his people. His heart swelled with joy and surprise in equal measure. Duncan who sails fearless." He was stunned. Who had given you a verse? Who was this strange human man with the moon in his eyes who knew the proper way to greet someone? "You were given verse in the song?" "I worked around the Pardachi cluster when, you know." "You must have impressed them if they gave you a verse." You waved his praise away, and with it the memory that lurked behind your eyes. "Was just doing my job." Revri bounced on his hooves and his tail whipped behind him. He had hoped to find fulfilling company here, but he could have never imagined this. "Such an uncommon honor. It would delight me to share a meal with you. Please allow me to purchase you a drink. Do not worry over price either. You have roused my heart to song, Duncan who sails." He bowed low. Such a charming man deserved to be shown respect and admiration. "You like whiskey, yes? Solar, CFS, or a non-human varietal? Perhaps they carry Pardachi beverages. What is your favorite? Shoal wine? Amka?" You look beyond him towards the bar, a glitter in your eye, and then back to him. "Big guy, cute ears, sweet. He stepped forward to claim a seat, his heart singing. "Hold it right there, big and handsome. Reverie stopped and counted his words. It seemed to be going well. What had been his mistake? Don't get me wrong, you're real cute. But I'm here with my brother. He'll be back any second. Unfortunate, understandable. Reverie's breathing calmed, but the sting of rejection was unmistakable. Reverie bowed and showed his tusks one more time, hiding his disappointment behind a flimsy mask of formality. It has been a privilege. Enjoy your evening, Duncan who sails. You too, Reverie of Pardace. Reverie turned to leave but found his way blocked by another man with a face like yours. Hello. The small man glared with the intensity of someone much larger than him. This luck bothering you, Dunk? No, he was just leaving. Whatever, I brought 2 for each of us. Double shots, obviously. Reverie sidestepped to allow Gary through, and was impressed that he had managed to carry those drinks so far without spilling. What do you guys talk about? I saw you from the line. He arranges the drinks methodically before you, leaving one colorful beverage by itself off to the side nearest to Reverie. Nothing much. Indeed, your brother has rejected my offer of companionship. Gary half crouched over the table as he set down the drinks, froze. Gary, wait, don't... Companionship? What kind of companionship? It was nothing, hardly a flirt. A flirt? Before Reverie could retreat, or Duncan could rise to stop him, Gary grabbed the Pardachi's arm and dragged him back to the table. Forgive my brother, he's just playing hard to get. Every word spoken through gritted teeth and a frightening smile. Right, Duncan? No. Truly, I am not. He does this all the time. Sit. Sit. Gary placed Reverie in a seat opposite to you. You looked not at all pleased. No, I don't. See? He probably didn't even tell you that he's gay. He did not mention that. Gary's grip tightened as Reverie tried to pull away. He could not believe such strength was coming from someone so small. Did you tell him what we're celebrating? He didn't ask. You growled the words through your teeth, an obvious way of saying, please leave, you ridiculous man, but Reverie was so enamored he failed to notice. What are you celebrating? Jesus fucking Christ. You grabbed a glass and hid your face behind it as you watched the hapless Reverie fall into your brother's trap. You'll love this. Duncan is kind of a big shot, by the way. Super humble, though. Here we go. Duncan here is the Moira? Or was it Laika? No, that's the dog, whatever. He's on the big mission. He's a big world-famous, not famous, celebrated hero and astronaut with Gary. A storied and heroic past of search and rescue missions on Earth and across a dozen CFS colonies. He's a master pilot, renowned expert on state-of-the-art communication systems. That part's true. Even ran supplies behind enemy lines during the thing with the yak Harag. He got medals for it. He enunciated his point by waggling his eyebrows, a gesture that was more unsettling than flirtatious, in large part due to the casual mention of such a hideous thing. Keep your fucking voice down. But your brother did not notice his misstep, or he did not care. Reverie could not tell, but he made a note of the narrowed eyes and the deepening frowns all turned towards the table. Yep, he saved like 1,000,000 lives probably. Shut up! you hissed. Gary leaned in close to Reverie, impish smile oozing with excitement and mischief. He did not notice the Pardachi's discomfort. He also is known across numerous star systems. He moved closer still, his voice low and full of laughter. For his sexual prowess. He sunk under the table. Thank you for reciting my resume. You swapped your mostly empty beverage with his mostly full one. I know my way around a boat, too. Impressive. Is it true? Huh? No, I'm not renowned for my sexual prowess across any systems. Reverie scratched the back of his neck and tried not to think about your sexual prowess. You are departing with the ship? You glared like you did not want to answer. Yeah? Why? Reverie clapped his hands together and showed his tusks, and did not notice the edge in your voice. Ah, how fortuitous. I am as well. You are? Gary clawed his way up from the floor, eyes wide. Seriously? No joking? I would not joke about this honor bestowed upon me. That's great. That's really great. His tone was more genuine, relieved. Really, really great, right? He put his hand on your shoulder and squeezed. Softer, quieter, scared? Yeah. But is that uniform... You look nice? I swear to God. Reverie smirked and ran his paws over his cloak, allowing his fingers to linger on the fabric instead of the memories it held. I have made adjustments. The cloak is a traditional Pardachi raiment, meant for formal occasions and celebrations. That's neat. Yup, was nice chatting. See you on the ship, Reverie. You nodded and glanced toward the door. While Reverie was not the most well-versed in human mannerisms, he got the message. You did not want to speak with him. Of course. No, stay, come on, just for one drink. Reverie should have walked away when he saw your face, but Gary's pleading and something hiding in your eyes made him hesitate. One drink? A fearful shadow passed over his eyes, but Reverie did not recognize it then. Come on, I can tell the girls about the alien that I met. Extrasolar life form. I'm not saying that. You groaned and stared into your glass, then at the ceiling, and then out the window, and finally at Reverie. One drink, and only 'cause you're being rude. I'm not rude. I'm curious and inquisitive. Tell us about yourself. Got any family? Where are you from? Gary. Reverie frowned, but at least now he knew that the man did not mean it. Gary slid a colorful glass across the table. I am from Pardachi. I don't think that I've met a Pardachi. Oh no. Earth ruined your manners. Reverie had always heard humans from Sol were especially rude, but had never seen any evidence until then. I'm sorry, that was rude. I've been drinking. It's just, I didn't even realize. Oh my God. Gary looked to you, pleading for his elder sibling to save him. You shrugged, raised your glass and took a drink, seeming to enjoy your brother's struggle. You spoke without malice. I'm so sorry. Sorry. You swirled your drink in your glass and clicked your tongue. Then you spoke and granted him mercy. Communications Officer Duncan Shields, and Head of Search and Rescue. Gary threw his arm around you and whistled. I told you he's a big shot. Revri was impressed with how Gary recovered and welcomed the return of his smile alongside the more relaxed conversation. So your brother was not exaggerating. Your qualifications are impressive. You winked. His confidence returning, Revri took a calculated risk. After all, humans are supposed to appreciate boldness. Perhaps he was not exaggerating the tales of your sexual prowess. You spat your drink and coughed, shaking the table and spilling a good third of Revri's colorful beverage. Hey, you got my new shirt wet. Gross. I apologize. It was not appropriate of me to say this. You wiped the spittle and liquor from the edges of your mouth. I should not have. Let's have a drink first. Then we can talk qualifications. I would like that very much. Oh hey, Gary. Why don't you fetch us some fresh drinks? You winked at Revri and tapped your brother's shoulder while he carefully rubbed a napkin on his shirt. I'm busy. I don't know. You kinda owe it to Revri. Hey, I said I'm sorry. Make it a big one too. I like the way this guy talks. Gary raised his middle finger and stood still, wiping his shirt with a napkin. Revri could not help but laugh at the way that Gary pouted. Perfect. He has your sense of humor. Fuck you guys. We'll get to that. Revri's ears burned, and he stared into his drink. You punched his arm, and though it was gentle, he almost fell over. What have I done? Gary fled to retrieve unspilled drinks, and Revri was glad for it. The flirtations were egregious in his absence. The conversation had moved on by the time that he returned, and Revri made a note of your boldness. He could not recall ever meeting someone like you. He would be careful not to provoke you too much. Not yet. Part 1. Reveries. 3 cheers for my brother and his boyfriend. Revri awaited clarification, but you only shook your head. Whatever he was to you then did not matter. He was glad to have company, romantic or otherwise. He had spent so long on his own that he had forgotten the simple pleasure a shared meal or beverage with new companions could bring. Where in the Pardachi cluster were you stationed? Stole? I ran supplies and did evac. You were careful to leave out specifics, but Gary was happy to fill in the blanks. He told grand and implausible tales of your heroism, his voice full of awe as he spoke of you. Yep, he enlisted day 1. Like I said, he's a big hero type. And so he went on and on, but eventually the praise became too much to bear. You talk too much. Another bad habit from Earth. It was a mistake to go. Not like there was much choice. Are you not from Sol? Nope. Confederated Frontier Systems, Tibon. Runnock, to be exact. Gary was born there too. He just doesn't act it. Revri opened his mouth, but bit off his tongue. There was no colony on Runnock. Not anymore. Gary squashed any hope of a follow-up question, for which Revri was thankful. What are you doing on the ship, Rev? Can I call you Rev? Rev is acceptable. Thank you. All new colonies need strong laborers. I am part of the surveyors. I will help select a place to build our colony, prepare the site for construction, and then do whatever is asked of me. If we encounter any hostile life forms, or if there are disagreements within the crew, I am also charged with security, though I hope that it does not come to that. I prefer more cooperative pursuits. Survey, huh? You moved closer and your fingers dared to graze his. We'll be working close together then. You put a hand on Revri's forearm, idly rubbing your thumb through his fur and spreading fire through his veins. Working closely with you would be a great pleasure. Oh, Revri, work close with me. You're so big and strong. Mwah, mwah. You groaned and scoffed and pulled your hand away, and Gary continued to make kissy faces. Some wingman you are. I was trying to flirt. That was not flirting. Jesus, how did you ever get laid? God knows it's not your looks. Revri rested an elbow on the table and perched his chin on his fist and showed his tusks. I am sure many have been captured by the moon in his eyes or ensorcered by his charm and wit. Gary pointed at Revri and nodded. That's flirting. I mean, obviously I'm not gay. Thank you for clarifying. But I bet the fellas are all over you, Mr. Tall, Furry, and Poetic. He waggled his eyebrows in that strange human way. I do like the way he talks. The conversation carried on and approached all manner of subject. Work history, stories of childhood, family, travel, and even former lovers. You became more verbose and eager to share as the drinks took effect. After it was all said and done, I flew from planet to planet in a personal cruiser. Was a hell of a time. Did a lot of finding myself out there. Found a guy in every port too. You feigned a gasp and elbowed your brother's arm. Gary. Not every port. At last the truth. I wonder if you will find such a guy on our new colony. No, that is a foolish question. You already have. Keep it in your pants, pork chop. Revri looked down. Pork chop? Don't overthink it. He did not. He relished the company, the conversation, and as much as he wanted time alone with you, he was glad for Gary's presence, even when he said something insensitive. Revri sipped and savored every drop of the drink, knowing that once his glass was empty, it would end. But you drank slower too. Gary faded into the background, constantly having to stretch his legs or empty the tank. As the conversation drew on, you leaned in closer and closer to Revri, and he returned the favor halfway through what might have been one glass. You were sitting side by side. Eventually, everything else became secondary. The sad sounds in the bar, the footsteps, the voices outside, the bright lights and the maintenance ships coming and going outside the window. None of it mattered. You laughed and joked, and he dared to put his paw on your hand. You did not move away. That fire raged within him, and you too. It would seem as the color of your cheeks deepened. How could it be that time passed so easily with you? He had just met you, and yet every moment you spoke, he felt as if he had known you for a lifetime. But all things must end. So this guy, big, handsome, canine, drags me into the vents of the space station. We're getting hot and heavy when suddenly, BAM! You clapped your hands together and laughed. His entire arm fell off. That does not sound enticing. What did you do? Well, the thing vibrates, so we... Revri raised his glass for a drink and was met with nothing except this distorted reflection at the bottom of the glass. Shoot. You empty already? Already? You two have been yapping for hours. It's like 2100 hours. Why didn't you say something, Gary? Fucking hell. You jumped from your seat. Gary swirled his toothpick around his empty glass, prodding at the large stone cube in the center. You two were having fun. You're gonna make a cute couple. Shit. We're supposed to board and get pictures. Not for me. For my nieces. Shit. We won't have time for everything now. I will catch up with you when we depart. Revri stood and surprised at how staggered he was after only one drink, but thought nothing of it. For sure. You can find me in the D block, 4th level, Room 0411. Get in gear, Gary. You grabbed your brother by the wrist and started dragging him to the door. Hey, slow down, Jesus. We got plenty of time. He turned around and waved at Reverie. You should come with us. What? No. No offense, Reverie. I am not offended. What are you doing? Excuse us. You lowered your voice to a whisper and dragged your brother towards the door. Reverie looked away and tried not to eavesdrop. He had intruded once, and he could ask for no more of your time. To his relief, your argument was difficult to hear over the soft sounds of the bar. Feet, hooves, and claws pattered and scraping the tile, the clinking of drinks, and some muted sobs. It was the ideal backdrop for him to ponder and not eavesdrop. Come on, you clearly like him. End the point. I don't... He thought of the mission and what might be waiting on the other side of the universe in a distant galaxy. He thought of how fortunate it was to have an acquaintance that he had things in common with on the ship, and how you two would surely meet for a meal together sometimes. From time to time. Not too often. But then he shook those thoughts away. It was presumptuous. Instead, he thought about all the hard work awaiting him ahead. Scouting, geological surveys, farming, building a colony. It would be backbreaking and laborious. He was glad you were going to be there. You were very well qualified. The mission would be well served by your presence. He caught himself laughing. He who'd only just met you. You who knew how to ask a Pardachi for their verse. You who showed him your tusks. You who had a verse, a rare and noble thing. It spoke to the quality of your character and... No, he was being ridiculous, undignified. He merely thought how fortunate it was that he had met a new friend, a potential friend already. That was it. That was all. Never enough pilots, no. Search and rescue, always important in a fledgling colony, especially this colony. But as guilty as it made him feel, he kept sneaking glances towards you and your brother, and he kept wondering about the possibilities, the what-ifs, the gentle touch on the arm, how easy it was to speak with you, that time passed so freely in your company, all the possibilities, he wondered. What was this? Had he known, would things have been so different? Having been alone so long, he could not help. All right, let's roll. The argument had ended while Reverie was lost in his selfish imaginings. It was clear to everyone pretending not to watch who won as your brother shouted across the room towards Reverie. Reverie looked past him towards you. You were clearly frustrated, but you offered a weak smile when your eyes met. You are certain that your brother is fine with this? Reverie was left little room to protest as Gary dragged him to the door. He's old and grouchy. Don't mind him. Come on. I'm not old. I got another 100 years. Easy. Old. You shook your head and pat Revri on the back. Welcome to the party. I can leave if you would prefer. You shoved your hands in your pockets. Nah, Gary'd bug me about it all night. Says it's so that he can tell his girls about the alien. The girls? His wife and my nieces. Not just my wife and my daughters. You know better than that. Gary spun on his heels and walked backwards, deftly avoiding the crowds of people as he corrected your terrible mistake. He means my beautiful and perfect wife, Stella, and my equally as beautiful and even more perfect-er daughters. These are their unofficial titles. You know it. Here. Reverie did not see where it came from, but Gary unfolded a roll of photos featuring his family. This is Stell, by which I mean Stella, and Duncan when Emily was born. She loves science and space stuff, so we gotta get lots of pictures. She wants to be a pilot, like Duncan, so that she can explore and... Oh! Gary pulled the camera from his pocket. With a dazzling flash, he stole a photo. You gotta go digital, Gary. Your comment made no impact. She'll love this. Anyways, Cassandra, just turned 4. Look at her, she's so cute, she looks just like me and... He dodged around the others walking the halls. Unlike the bar, the people out here seemed to be in a more celebratory mood, excited for the adventure of a lifetime. Perhaps only the lonely were drinking their sorrows. But he had little time to think on it. Gary was insistent on discussing more important matters, like his younger daughter riding a pony. Yes, that is a very nice photo. Her hair is so curly, which is good, and she has tamed the beast of burden. Haha, you crack me up. Anyways, here's us on vacation to Neptune. Revri looked to you for help, but you only smiled and shrugged, leaving the Pardacci to his fate. We took this one in Las Vegas. It sucks now. They used to have casinos and booze and drugs and stuff, but now it's a museums about all stuff. More kid-friendly, I guess. You kept interrupting to give the correct version of events whenever Gary got even the most minor detail wrong, or did not tell it properly by your measure. You had not spoken this much at the bar. It seemed a great deal of your speech was reserved for bragging about your family. It made his heart flutter, and he was ashamed to admit that it made him envious. What struck him most was how happy you looked in every photo, overjoyed even. He could not understand why you would. Emmy's gonna be the best dang ballerina. You beamed with an uncle's pride, but Gary's smile faltered. She doesn't want to do ballet anymore. What are you talking about? Of course she does. You laughed and put your brother in a fraternal headlock. We just saw her perform last year. She's more into science and stuff now, like I said. You stopped walking, your pupils darting around the room in search of an explanation. Kids, I mean, she's only 8 and 9. Huh? She's 9. Her birthday was last month. Your eyes widened, and you muttered to yourself, but could not find an answer. That can't be right. I wouldn't miss. Your brother jumped and revealed yet another photo of you and your niece smiling together in front of a small spacecraft. Rev, you're not going to believe what happened on her 8th birthday. But you did not see the photo. The thought was stuck in you, and you could not get past it. That can't be right. Whatever, it's fine. No big deal. No big deal? Her birthday is October the 17th. It's only... Gary rolled his eyes away from you and down towards the floor. November 5th on the Sol calendar. You could not find the answer in your palms or on the floor, so you looked to the ceiling through the glass windows at the faceless passerbys, but none of them could change the truth of this thing. Where was I? I don't know. You've been busy. It's fine. Speaking of birthdays, like I said, Duncan really saved the day that year. You slowed your pace and followed behind while Gary recounted the tale of your heroism. The stories carried on and on away from your nieces and to you and your brother as young men, but you no longer took part in the tellings. You frowned at the floor and searched for an answer. In the stories, you were always a responsible and mature older brother, the hero, and Gary, by his own description, the ever-playful and impish scamp. In these stories, you were not merely his brother, but a figure of myth and wonder. Of course, I didn't know how to swim yet, but I really wanted to dive into the lake like the other kids, so... Wait, Gary, you can't go in there, you need... You were too slow and Revri, too lost in thought. An alarm blared and shattered the tranquil and too fragile reminiscence of the photos and stories. What happened? You need to be scanned in. You shouted over the alarm. If I need to be scanned in, why is the door open? I don't know. Maybe they're moving shit around and... They are likely moving equipment to the ship. You do not have your guest pass? But he was not sure anyone heard him. He did not like to shout. Gary was screaming. You were trying to silence him and the alarm was still blaring. It was an awful noise. What do we do? Wait for security and show them your guest pass. What? Rev, did you hear what he said? He said to wait and produce your guest. The alarm went silent and heavy, but measured. Footsteps grew loud. Shit. Hello, officer. You stepped between Gary and the security officer, shielding him from their scolding. Though, when it was discovered Gary had lost his guest pass, you scolded him yourself. But you could never admit when there was nothing to be done. You stood before him, always a responsible brother, and argued that he should be allowed in regardless, and Revri thought that you played the part of a hero well. Yet your efforts were all for naught. Rules were rules, and had Revri not intervened and vouched for him, he would have been turned away. With a warning to not touch anything, you were on your way. Thanks for bailing him out, Rev. Wonder who'll do it when I'm gone. Gary shuddered and jumped ahead of you. I'm an adult, believe it or not, all responsible like... I do not believe you. That's the thanks that I get for helping you get laid, ham sandwich? Hey, apologize. Gary grumbled and issued a non-committal grunt before moving out of earshot. Sorry about him. This area was more active, but there wasn't much to see, much to Gary's jargon. It was largely groups of engineers or mechanics preparing the ship for launch, and a disproportionately high number of security officers. More security partitions slowed your progress, and your theory had proved correct. They were loading supplies onto the ship. The only thing that broke up the monotony was a small group of press snapping photos and shouting questions. A light with purpose. I will miss the comforts of our home galaxy, but I am honored and... Gary wanted to stop, but you shoved him onward. No, I don't talk to press. I don't care about you. I want to see if I can get on TV. No. Come on, it's so boring here. Everyone's just... He shuddered like a cold breeze had come through. Working. There is much to be done before we depart. Like what? Isn't the ship, the greatest feat of engineering ever? Such a feat requires care and maintenance. Paperwork, inventory, diagnostics. Lame. It is a fascinating series of processes, though thorough and exhaustive. How exhaustive? We will remain in the galaxy for roughly 11 standard days before we can skip. That sounds dumb. Why? Test the ship, make sure that it can even move. No single ship has ever needed as much fuel. It might be kinda cool to look under the hood, but still lame. Is that really all? You glance towards the group of press. And to put on their little show. Right. So, what are you guys gonna be up to for 11 days? He cackled and stepped between you and Reverie. You're gonna be making out? Shut up. There's another checkpoint coming up. You and Reverie made idle conversation about the logistics of such a mission. You wondered if the foodstuffs were all rations or if there would be good stuff. Gary was less interested in the topic and still clutching his stomach. His spirits remained high, but even his well of optimism was not endless. He became exasperated by the third security checkpoint. He was, however, very curious about the crew's compensation package. He was much less curious about it when he discovered that it was largely just to settle final debts and, by your account, funnel money to companies the various governments had connections to. But they had to give you something to go have fun with, right? He elbowed you and squinted. You said you got something. What'd you do with it? Paid off my debts. What debts? You're famously cheap. You mean responsible? Same thing. How about you? You do anything fun? Yes, I took an extended vacation on an oasis world. Ooh, where'd you go? Sol's Mars. It was as luxurious as I had heard, perhaps more so. Mars is a good time. You spend time on the beaches or stay in whatever resort. Go gambling. I explored the conservatories and visited the terraforming museum. The technology is fascinating. Similar techniques have been utilized on Pardachi, and I saw deeper understanding. Of course you did. You held your badge to a scanner, and the doors opened with a whoosh, allowing the group through the partition. You two are cute when you flirt. We're not flirting. Keep telling yourself that. You shot a glare at him that made him shrink. Then he timidly followed you and Reverie through the final partition. You jumped and spun in a circle while you gestured to the room. Behold, the biggest, stupidest ship anyone has ever made. Isn't it glorious? Your voice was empty of enthusiasm. A large screen played a video on repeat that offered details about the mission, the cost, what it all symbolized, the bravery of those making the heroic choice to leave in the name of unity and scientific progress. It was decorated the same way one would expect a lavish hotel lobby to be, an array of potted plants, each plant from a different system, lining the otherwise plain walls. The farthest wall was painted with a mural depicting the various species of the crew surrounded by the sigils and flags of their associated governments and worlds. It was meant to inspire unity, but it looked gaudy, a hollow gesture meant to make politicians feel as if they had achieved something meaningful by sending people into another galaxy, never to be seen again. Revri thought it more akin to a tomb than a beacon, but it would be torn down upon arrival and repurposed into various structures essential for the founding of a colony. Perhaps the mural would be made into the threshold of his home, an amusing notion. Whatever it would become, tonight it was only a hollow and sterile gesture, but Gary was hypnotized by all the expensive, seeming decorations. The girls are gonna love this. Neither you nor Reverie were stirred by the images. Both of you had been on the ship at least once before, but Gary took it all in with a childlike wonder. He tittered at every turn, at every new and incredible thing. It was endearing but rather strange to see someone so excited about benches and wall lights. He even stopped another crew member to ask them to take his picture in front of one of the potted plants. You and Reverie watched him bounce from thing to thing, convinced that every wall panel held the secrets of the universe. Is he always so stupid, annoying, dumb? Yeah. If that is how you say energetic, then yes. You're too nice. Oh, what's this one do? Emergency wall light. What makes it different? It's red. Wow. His enthusiasm is infectious. Yeah, you get hot under the collar about wall lights. I am sure that they are very advanced, but no. I mean the ship. It is impressive, is it not? Sure, but lights, really? You shouted at your brother once he started touching things. Gary, it's a bench. You don't need pictures of fucking everything. Wait, don't touch. Ah! There was a thud as your brother backed into a vase, sending it to the ground. Beyond reason, it remained intact and rolled lazily across the sterile steel tiles. Sorry, I'll clean it up. Then you looked over your shoulder at Reverie. See? He's short of stature and dumb of ass. Reverie laughed and failed to hide a smile. I do not think that he would like this verse. And besides, Reverie watched your brother scoop dirt into his palm and then dropped it when a security guard barked at him from down the hall. It is not my place to speak ill of your family. You raised an eyebrow. Cute and smart. Come on, he could use a hand. Between the three of you, it took only a moment to clean up the small mess, but if not for Reverie's vouching, Gary would have been thrown out. He was entirely unfazed by the incident. If anything, it made him more mischievous. Don't get Rev in trouble. I'm just keeping things interesting. What else would he even be doing tonight? I don't know, having a drink by the pool, working out, enjoying someone's company. I am enjoying your company. I may have explored the ship's facilities, perhaps visited hydroponics. There are not enough green places on the ship. There's a pool? It's for training. We're tearing it down when we get there. What a waste of a pool. We are turning it into an additional greenhouse. Duncan, have you read the briefing on the water recycling initiatives? They are incredibly advanced. I read it last night. Good to know where the food's coming from. Gary's eyes glossed over as you discuss farming and efficient water use. How do you even know there's a habitable planet there? We cannot be sure, but long-range scanners have given us information that suggests a life-harboring star. Long-range is a cute way to describe state-of-the-art communications tech. You elbowed him, and his tail whipped around. He could not help himself. I thought you were smart. Fair play. I am not familiar with this technology. I was a farmer, then a soldier, now a scout. Perhaps when we share a meal you can explain it to me. When we share a meal? Yeah, sure. We'll have time before we skip. Maybe you can tell me about soil treatments. I couldn't make sense of it myself. It is not so complicated as you think. It is a precise science, fascinating too. It is a minor act of terraforming. They implement the same technologies in the life-seeding initiative in my home system. Incredible what they can do with this stuff. I've seen the photos. Your smile was small but genuine, warm, and for the first time Reverie felt real connection to. Revri and Duncan sitting in a tree, Kissing. Gary, Christ, grow up. Grow up? Come on, I gotta be grown up every other night of my life. Have some fun. You can't flirt like that and expect me to stay quiet. We're just getting to know each other. You can get to know each other in a janitor's closet if you need a sec. I could. It was cute at the bar, but seriously, knock it off. Nothing. I just, nothing. He tried to laugh, but the awkwardness hung in the air like smog and poisoned the mood. You shouldered past him with a grunt. Gary winced and let his arms fall limp. Sorry. Let's get this over with. But, try as you might, your brother ignored the turn in mood and your attempts to give a tour. Instead, he lingered on the stories of you, the same myths and legends that he started the night with, but the joyful edge in his voice was gone. Reverie tried to place it, but could not. Whenever you started to describe something he walked by, he would interrupt and continue his story. He was not interested in the ship, not really, Reverie thought. It was a pleasant distraction, an easy thing to pretend to care about. From time to time he would stop crew who looked cool or had cool jobs and snap a photograph with them, especially if they were not human. And while not a single door went unopened, Gary seemed more interested in telling his stories. Why'd you even want a tour if you're not gonna listen to me? For my kids, duh. I'm making a historical record of the so incredible and wonderful, mission. Oh. The way he rolled his eyes and exaggerated his words did not convince Reverie he believed what he was saying, but he said it with quintessential human confidence that might convince others. But it did not convince you. You want a tour, then you don't. You play wingman and then you get in the way. Fucking hell. Do you even want to be here? Gary froze mid-step and croaked. It was a strained and awful noise, but then it became a broken laugh, and he spun on his heels with a smile. That depends. Is there anything interesting on this ship? Christ. He snapped his fingers and clapped. What kind of guns are on the ship? Lasers? Cannons? Seriously? Guns are cool. Blowing stuff up is cool. Reverie did not think so, and from the look on your face, neither did you. He was glad for it. Most said humans had a savage bloodthirst and an above-average capacity for violence. Small arms, bows for hunting, arrows are easier to replace than bullets or energy weapons, non-lethal weapons for managing aggressive wildlife and unruly crew. We have a point defense system for shooting down asteroids and other debris. It may also be used against megafauna should the need arise. Megafauna? Giant wildlife. You ever see one? Whales are megafauna. That doesn't count. How about you? When I was a boy, I was tasked with guarding our granary from wildlife, and Pardacci was home to many beasts of all sizes. Revri began to tell the tale of Revri who sleeps peacefully beneath the bows, the boy he once was. It had been a lifetime since he was that boy, but in his mind the images were clear. He recalled the weather, sunny and humid as Pardacci often was, how he had gotten a splinter running from unseen monsters. The smells, the sounds, the terror in his heart as he imagined greater and greater horrors. Then of course the humiliation when it was no giant beast, but a small rodent that had chased him from his post. He had not realized the three of you had stopped moving. He was lost in myth-made Pardacci and reluctant to leave it. He was that happy boy, Revri who slept beneath the bows again, and would be so long as the telling went on. Thus he took his time. He lived in the tale and recounted every detail, lingering on the sounds, the smells, every one of his feelings. He recalled everything, even things that did not seem to matter, in a desperate attempt to stay in that story, in that time. But every moment must pass, and every telling must end. Aw, poor baby Rev. You must have been scared half alive. It was a challenging day. For months they called me Revri who flees imagined beasts. Maybe I should take the girls to Pardacci. They never left the solar system. You think that'd make a good vacation, Rev? You shook your head and Revri looked away. I could not say. It is not the same anymore. Oh, hey, what's that? He dashed away and stood before a large console. An advanced radar system that... Boring. You frowned and muttered the kinds of curses only sailors know under your breath. I think the radar systems are cool. Suck up. What vehicles you got on the ship? Aircraft, watercraft, ground transports, drone fleets. I can't remember the most of it. Can we get pictures? Of... the weapons and the vehicles. Oh, I bet they have the new Porsche amphibious low-orbit shifter craft. They haven't rolled them out to the public yet, but I read all about them. See, I worked on the last generation, but this new generation has superior internal climate controls and an oxygen recycling system. I'd kill to see one. You turned to Revri and smirked. Do we have one? Revri scratched his chin and snorted. We have 3. 3? Why didn't you say something sooner? Oh, can I get inside or shit? Could I look at the engine? They employed some secret new tech in the Phalos fuel injector and I need to know. You raised an eyebrow at Revri and shrugged. Can we? Revri almost felt guilty seeing the look of wonder on your brother's face. It was the first thing that he seemed genuinely interested in. But he had a job to do, and Gary had almost been thrown off the ship once already. No, it is out of the question. But I really wanna. Untrained civilians are not to have access to the equipment and munitions that we have on board. It is dangerous, and as you said, much of this technology is not public. But I'm trained, I'm a mechanic, a good one. It is not possible. Gary's smile grew wider as he glanced at you. Revri could not tell what hid behind his eyes, but it made you groan. You held your wrist up, looked down at your watch. Well, you heard the man. Tour's over. Let's hit the pool. Party's almost over. What? Party? Yeah. Bunch of crew getting together. Libations, dumb games, the kind of party. Food and libations? Yeah. Then why are we wasting time with a shitty tour of a shitty ship? Me? This was your idea. Well, it was a bad one. And you, why didn't you say anything? I have been enjoying your company. I did not think the pool would be better. I am not much of a swimmer and I have eaten my fill today. Ugh. Come on, free food, free drinks. What else could we possibly want? Are you coming, Revri? Revri looked down at his hooves and awaited your answer. You offered an apologetic frown before you spoke, but your mind had been made. No, he's not. Don't be rude, right, Rev? You dragged a hand down to your face and cursed. I do not take offense. Gary made an exaggerated sigh and rolled his shoulders while he turned to you. Come on, it'll be fun. He put his arms around your shoulders and smirked, but it seemed lesser than before. What's the big deal? The more the merrier. I want to spend time with my brother. That's the deal. You are, and we can't abandon Rev now, right? His voice cracked. Private time, one-on-one, mano-a-mano. Rev can go find something else to do. You offered a toothy smile to Revri, but he could tell that it was forced. No offense. Come on, we spent the entire trip to the station together and all day yesterday. Revri's better conversation than you. Gary grabbed you and pulled you closer to Revri. Besides, this way you'll know someone on the ship. I already know someone on the ship. Kizu doesn't count. And you like him. Shut up. You yanked your hands away with a grunt and marched out the hall. You have been so generous with your time. I will leave you. Gary stood behind him and shepherded him towards the door. Don't mind him, come on. He should not have followed, but when he met your brother's eyes, he saw a man who begged and pleaded behind a false smile, so he followed, for his sake. You were leaning against the wall opposite the door the way the human men like to do to look cool. Let's go. After the fun party, maybe you'll free Rev. You turned away and growled. Can't have a fucking minute with my brother. Course not. Why would I get that? We've had years, Dunk. He yelled down the hall after you, not worried about the sideways looks that he received from the others in the hall. Tonight's the last night. Fucking... Forgive me if I want to spend some fucking time with my fucking family. Gary muttered under his breath, and Revri wished that he had not heard. No, you don't. You stopped and turned on him, and your shadow swallowed him. What did you say? I said, where's the pool? His smile came back so quickly, Revri was not sure that it had ever left, and it made him think that he must have misheard. That's not... Fine. You want to go to the pool? Let's go. You walked faster, keeping distance between you and the others. Revri thought that he heard you mumble something, but you were too far away and the words did not reach him. I should go, he said to Gary, careful that you do not hear. Nah, he's just being a grump. He's always grumpy, but he's extra grumpy today. You'll get over it. I am not offended. I understand he wishes to spend time with you. This is a difficult time for many families. The Pardachi stopped in the hall and prepared to leave. I think that I will catch up with him tomorrow after departure. This way you can spend… No. You turned around and squinted at your brother. You okay, Gary? You knocked over any more vases? Was… telling a story. You started down the hall again, pausing for a moment to watch Reverie from your peripheral. You think I'm fucking dumb or something? Come on, don't worry about it. It's fine. His smile was a grimace and his eyes had the shadow from before and a glint of anger or desperation in them. He'll thank us both later. If you insist. He wouldn't know a good thing if it kicked him in the shins. Trust me. We tried. Revri should have left. Anyone with sense would have. What fool stays when he is not welcomed? But he thought, your brother, knew you better than he did. Or maybe that was just the excuse that he used to stay. Whatever the reason, it was not long before the chemicals smell of the pool filled his snout, and a trickle of the crew babbled down the hall. The babble became a bubbling, which steadily grew to a flood as dozens moved in the opposite direction, leaving the trio to flounder as they moved upstream. You aren't kidding. This is a party. Yep. Excuse us. Coming through. Fucking… Hey! You stumbled back, but Revri caught you. Allow me. Pardon us. Revri stepped forward. His sheer size caused most to move out of the way. The flicker of anger in your eyes vanished. Where the hell did all these people come from? The party, I expect. Why are they all leaving? Oh my god, if I miss free food for a lane tour, I'll kill you both. All the food is free. It's the principle. They may be going to the ceremony, but there will be some who stay behind. Ceremony? Big fancy formal gala. Is that why you're all dressed up? Gary gestured to Revri's cloak. Though the raiment itself was formal, the rest of his clothing was not. I had intended to go until I met the two of you at the bar. Ah, I get it now. Your face softened and you nodded, knowing, or so you thought. Can't blame you for sticking around, not if that was your other option. It would not be as interesting as this, no. You and your brother are good company. He sounded so genuine that he might have deceived himself. See, I told you that you'd appreciate. But I can't blame you, dumbass. Now go, your party awaits. Dick. With most of the crowd dispersed, the way to the party of Gary's wildest dreams was clear. Welcome to the party. Roughly 24 people milled about the room, and the atmosphere was… bad. Are you sure this is the place? Some food remained at the bottom of a silver trays, either drenched in sauces or dried out, but always cold. A once full ice chest had mostly melted, leaving only a handful of cans and colorful glasses floating in room temperature water, and next to it was a table with other recreational intoxicants. There was barely anything left, and what remained was unsafe for human consumption. The crew scattered around the room fared no better. Sunken-eyed and listless, they milled about without direction or purpose. Some swam or floated, but most lingered in the corners away from the water by themselves, nursing drinks or poking away at their food or crying into their paws, palms, or claws. There was a small gathering of 3 people whispering to one another in a smaller wading pool, but their expressions were grim and closed off. Another crew member lounged in a chair, seemingly unbothered by the mood of the room, as she read a book and had her tail curled around her leg. Posters and flyers were stuffed into the overflowing trash cans, lying wet on the ground or floating in the chemically treated water, their letterings and images now ripped and faded. It was unclear whether there had been a party in the first place. There was no music or dancing, no games or laughter. No, all that remained was the desiccated corpse of what might have been a party, and not a good one. Gary looked back at you and Reverie, and then towards the door. You shoved him towards the awful buffet. Pretty sad for a party. You fell into the nearest chair and scanned the room. At least I can sit for a minute. I have been to worse gatherings. I doubt that. Your eyes narrowed. You stood back up. Is everything all right? Maybe. You walked towards the person reading her book nearby and held your cap to your chest. Excuse me, I'm Duncan Shields, comms officer and head of search and rescue. I'm in engineering. Emira, a pleasure. She extends a paw which you graciously shook. Then she looked back to her book. I hate to be a bother, but I can't seem to find the lifeguard. There isn't one, I don't think. Your smile was gentle and warm and inviting. Your voice was high and sweet, nothing like your usual sonorous, rumbling tone. Did they leave after the party ended? Revri did not recognize it then, but that sweetness was a thin mask for simmering rage. I don't think we had one. She did not look up from her book. As your eye twitched and the gentle smile began to crack, Revri felt compelled to step back. Then why are there people in the pool? Your voice deepened like a thunder crack on the horizon. To swim? Without a lifeguard? She coughed and her tail curled around her leg while thunder rolled beneath your voice. Yes? Were people drinking? She nodded and raised her book like a shield. Doing drugs? Nothing illegal, and the doses were low and safe for... You loomed over her like a storm cloud. Let me get this right. People were drinking and doing drugs and swimming. With no lifeguard? She squeaked a yes that you did not hear. Revri winced as eyes fell on you. Your voice reverberated off the walls and the water and filled the space. It was suffocating and inescapable. You inhaled and paced back and forth. Are you aware that the pool can only be operated while a lifeguard, a qualified lifeguard, is present? Yes, but... Who cleared this? I need their contact information. Unbelievable. Revri dared to approach and sit upon your shoulder. He braced for white-hot rage, but instead he felt you ease, if only slightly. No one has been hurt. Thank God for that. People drinking by a pool without a lifeguard. We're lucky nobody drowned. Gary came trotting over with his face half stuffed with cold foods. He took a bite of something and spit it out. Ew, carrots? Duncan? You okay? There's no lifeguard. Your brother's face said that he had seen all of this before. Okay. Someone could drown, not to mention the violation of the ship's facility codes and procedures. You crossed your arms and with a pitying, patronizing sigh you declared, That's it. Everyone out. Party's over. Not this shit again. The engineer tried to interject with promises of safety and moderation, but you cut off her tongue with a glare. They only think that they're being safe. They're drunk or high. Back me up, Rev. Revri was not sure he wanted to, but you were right. He is correct. A lifeguard must be present when the pool is in use, especially under circumstances such as this. See, I told you. Revri could admire your commitment to the safety of others, but the intensity with which you were acting was bizarre. He was no stranger to making unpopular decisions to keep people safe, but given the circumstances he felt that there was no harm, so why had you been so angry over such a small thing? Would it be presumptuous of me to assume that you are a lifeguard? I got the cert. Yeah, why? Then there is a lifeguard present. I'm halfway drunk. A halfway drunk lifeguard is better than no lifeguard, yes? Gary nodded, face still full of miscellaneous food stuff. You looked around the room and chewed on your lower lip. Your eyes met Reveries, and with a great sigh, you exhaled your anger, leaving only disappointment and frustration. Okay, fine. You turned to the crew member who tried to hide behind her book. Sorry for yelling. Bad mood. Gary muttered an apology to her about my asshole brother as she slunk away. Revri could not blame her. For someone of relatively small stature, you were possessed of great force of will. All right, wish granted. I'm on duty. Yeah, now let's try and liven up this miserable party. Why are you looking at me like that? You grabbed his shoulder and turned him around. That means that I'll be up there. You pointed to a tall and thin construction of metal bars and plastic, a lifeguard's post. Congrats, you get to hang out with Revri. I'll get out of your way. You swiped the drink from Gary's hand. And this is mine now. Come on, there's barely anyone in the water. You can watch from here and… He reached out for you, but you swatted his hand away. Nope. Enjoy your party. You trudged away to your lonely tower and began your vigil. Fuck. Gary collapsed into the now unoccupied chair and dragged his hand down his face. I am sorry. I did not realize that he would react this way. You couldn't have known. I should have expected something like this. He doesn't care that there isn't a lifeguard here. He just doesn't want to be here. Revri sat on the floor next to Gary's chair. Any excuse to make himself miserable. Typical. And this is his kind of excuse. I'm looking out for everyone. Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm on duty. He's always on duty. Revri tilted his head and waited for Gary to continue. I mean, if something happens, he's gonna jump on it. Still an excuse. Was that what this was? An excuse? Could such potent anger, such passion, really be an excuse? He's always waiting for something to happen, some crisis, someone to save, not even in a big way. Oh, Dunk, I'm out of milk. Next thing I know, he's at my door with milk. So here he is looking for something to do, someone to save, anything but being here. Revri watched you sit alone in your tower. On duty. Would it have been better to let you leave? Would it be better for Revri to leave? Before doubt could seep in, Gary spoke again. One time, just once, I wish that he could be here. But he can't even… not even tonight. His voice was a trembling mess. His conviction wavered, and he seemed small and afraid like a young man who needed his older brother, yet he smiled all the same. Sorry. You have done nothing wrong. For him, for me, for making this your last night before the journey of a lifetime. He waved his hands in the air as he spoke the last few words. I dragged you into our shit and I'm sorry. Fucking hell, I hope that he doesn't stay here all night. You should be at some fancy gala eating your fancy food, enjoying better company, not here with my sad ass. Sad? The smile was still carved into his face. There was still some laughter in his voice. "You are not enjoying your time here?" Reverie looked to him, and his smile seemed thinner, weaker, like it may never have been there at all. "You're smarter than that." Gary looked away and pointed to you. "Just look at him." Your eyes swept the pool, but it was plain to see that you were elsewhere. You did not watch the few swimmers, but your own reflection and what lurked inside it. You only looking away whenever someone jumped in or broke a rule. Revri wondered what you were waiting or looking for. Always waiting for something to happen. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't even really want to be there, but he knows someone has to do the job. A strangled laugh, or maybe a sob. Whatever it was, he buried it in his sleeve. Then he pulled his knees to his chest and wrapped his arms around them to keep himself together. Wonder when he'll realize that it doesn't have to be him. But you're the best one for the job. He puffed out his chest and deepened his voice to be more like yours. I got all the certifications and qualifications and blah 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 blahs, and I'm also the coolest and the toughest. Looking to Reverie, he waggled his eyebrows in that strange human way, but it was different, sadder. Not to mention the sexiest. Even through the mocking tone, Reverie recognized the shadow that had come over your brother's face. Grief. Are you alright? He hid his face in his sleeve again and coughed and hacked. His breathing was labored, and his face was red, and his eyes looked puffy and raw, and his shirt sleeves were damp, and his fingers dug into his arms. The quiet grew more and more uncomfortable. For the first time, Gary did not attempt to fill the silence with a joke. Reverie spent the time watching you in your tower, worried. We had to leave our colony when I was 2. Duncan doesn't like to talk about it. I don't remember much, just him grabbing me from my bed, and then we were on a ship out of there. He sat up and crossed his legs. It seemed such a wrong thing that words so serious came from someone who had been so joyous. Hadn't he? Lucky our grandparents had a place on Earth. We got sole citizenship through them. I still live there. The property's been ours for generations, I guess. Forests, hills, lakes, streams. One of the last places that you can live like that on Earth. We were lucky. I think it's the best place in the universe. Duncan loved it too. At least I thought that he did when we were younger. Gary began to speak the words that he had needed to say, but could not say to you. When such a rare opportunity presented itself, one cannot allow it to pass. He'd go exploring for days, camping, hiking, then he got into boating and stuff, so he'd sail on the lake, rivers, then the ocean. Then I guess it only makes sense that he'd start flying. I thought he just couldn't get enough, but nah, that's not right. He's looking and looking for something, and his head is somewhere far, far away. Even then, he still made sure to take care of us. He shook and heaved and croaked out the next words. I wish that he could be here, but he's always so far away. He's the best brother, the best uncle, my best friend. He's good. Reverie was taken aback, not by his words, but by his face. His smile was gone and his eyes were empty except for the thread of tears. There was no laughter in him. Had there ever been? He cast a glance at Reverie, stern and serious, deadly even. You understand me? He wiped his face on his sleeve again and scoured away tears and treacherous thoughts. When he was done, his smile was back. We are lucky to have him with us. More than you know. This place sucks. I gotta get another drink. You want anything? No. Gary left and scrounged himself another drink and whatever food stuff he could find. He did not attempt to restart the conversation. He had said everything that he wanted or needed to. Where the conversation ended, the pair looked sunken-eyed, tired, and like there had never been a party in the first place. Revri sat and watched you. The only thing that broke up the somber mood of the room was your odd command to stop running, or to quit diving, and every order issued sent more and more people away until there was nobody left. It was not until you turned around that Revri looked away. He pretended to be interested in his palms and tugged his braids, stared into the green glass of his necklace. You were checking me out, weren't you? He looked up and found you with your hands on your hips, smirking at him. Was I so obvious? It's fine. I've been checking you out too. You winked and made finger guns at him, then shouted at your brother. Might as well, cause someone insists on having you around. Fuck you too. Gary said with eyes closed and middle fingers raised. You extended a hand and helped Revri up. Finally, ready to get out of here? Me? This whole thing was your idea. My idea that you hate. You winked at Revri and his tail snapped behind him. I don't think it's been all bad. Nah, it's been pretty shit. I didn't bring my trunks, so can't swim anyhow. Gary stretched and yawned. You observed him with arms crossed, then you looked at Revri, and he saw mischief in your eyes, the same kind of mischief that was ever present on your brother's face. You're right. Shame to. Water looks fine. You took a step forward past Revri. Gary muttered a passive agreement, then his eyes widened. Stay back. No, don't let him get me, Rev. Revri, police, security, Jesus! Gary turned and fell over the chair behind him. You grabbed the back of his shirt and pulled him towards you. Revri felt sympathy for your brother, but it was not his place to interfere in a dispute between siblings. Release me, you barbarian! Revri, help! This shirt is new! It's new! With a grunt, you lifted your brother and dragged him to the pool's edge. Let go, don't you fucking dare, Duncan! Duncan, oh no! Hold this for me. He tosses your jacket to Revri and threw your shirt and hat on a chair. Revri had not begun to process the events when Gary emerged gasping and flailing. Duncan, you bastard! What the fuck was… Wait, don't! You dove into the pool near your brother with a much smaller splash. Your distorted silhouette was visible beneath the surface. Unlike Gary, who struggled and shouted, you moved with uncommon grace and confidence in the water. Your brother did not stand a chance. You emerged behind him and grabbed him, pulling him towards the stairs. Stop! Rev! Waterboarding me! Rev! I am a poor swimmer. You are in capable hands. Once your feet touched the bottom of the pool, you freed your brother. Gary clawed up the stairs and collapsed on the ground. Asshole! What the fuck was that for? Were you trying to drown me? You stepped over your brother and Revri tried not to notice how the water dripped down your chest and your hair clung to your skin. Gary climbed up from the ground, uttering mirrored curses, and grabbed a towel from the chair and marched towards the door. Asshole! Thanks for watching my stuff. You retrieved your shirt, shoved your hat in your pocket, and stretched. If only Revri had known that you were taunting him, things could have been different. What happened to no roughhousing in the pool, huh? Gary shouted from the door. I'm off duty. Come on, let's go get changed. My room isn't far. And Rev. You looked to Revri and showed him your tusks. Revri looked at his hooves, ashamed that you had caught him staring again. You lowered your voice to a whisper. I hope you enjoyed the show. His tail snapped behind him, and he instinctively stomped a hoof and snorted. I hope you feel good about yourself. I do. You raised your hand and extended your middle finger. Looking something like a small, wet, pathetic creature, Gary sulked away. First he tries to drown me, and then he tries to seduce a guy while I'm right here. Have some shame. He would not have to try hard. You've known Rev for one night, and you've ruined him. Maybe he was always like this. Your brother walked to the door, cursing you and your sinister plots as you collected your things and went after him. Reverie did not follow. That would have been presumptuous. But what now? It was still hours before it had been appropriate to sleep. Reverie allowed his mind to wander when he remembered the bundle of fabric in his paws, and he held it to his chest. You had left your jacket behind. It was still warm from being worn so recently. He resolved to return it to you. You had told him where your room was after all. While he considered the best course of action, the door hissed open. What's the holdup? Pardon me? You heard me, Moon Eyes. What's the holdup? You flex and show your tusks while Reverie smiled and bowed, conceding himself to you. Looking upon you is like staring into a star, and I am a poor terrestrial thing, hopeless before your cosmic brilliance. My cosmic brilliance? Tss, flirt. Your boots squelched as you walked. It did nothing to undermine the sway in your step. Reverie was doomed from the start. Once you were close enough, Reverie could see you were blushing, and it made his tail snap behind him again. He tilted his head up, showing you his tusks, and extended his arm, never taking his eyes off of your face. Your jacket. Hold on to it for me, yeah? I'm soggy. You are certain? You're good enough company. He'd bug me about it all night anyway. Come on. Reverie began to argue, but you put an end to it with a glare. You're coming. Come on, I'm getting cold. You could have left him there. You had your excuse, but you came back. I graciously accept your offer, Duncan who sails. Your company has roused my heart to song. He bowed, glad that he did not excuse himself this time. I like the way you talk. This was the way that he had always talked, he thought. But if you enjoyed it, he would not stop, and since your brother was no longer present... Forgive me, I cannot help myself. The moon controls the tides, and I am powerless to resist nature's fundamental forces. Ooh, turning up the charm, are we? I am only speaking the truest words I know. You put a palm on his chest and tried to hide your face. Then you laughed and whispered to yourself and pushed away, leaving a wet handprint on Reverie's uniform. Come on. A soaking wet human laughing in the halls, and the Pardachi fawning over him drew a few odd looks. But it did not bother either of you. Is your brother okay? Don't worry about Gary. He'll get over it. You are certain? He has been behaving strangely. Nah, that's just how he is. We do this kind of thing all the time. You throw your brother into nearby bodies of water with regularity? We lived on a lake for a while. That is an unusual way of resolving conflicts. You opened your arms and shrugged. But despite your confidence, a flash of worry darted across your face. He's probably laughing it up as we speak, unless he got lost. But the worry stuck in you. Your jaw was set in a sterner than usual frown, and you chewed on your lip. When we reached the door, you swiped your badge and hurried inside. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So, considering the beginning of the visual novel, and as you will go on to see as the visual novel progresses, would it be safe to consider this maybe doomed yaoi? And I'm basing this mostly on the very beginning, where you saw where these two don't seem to be destined to be together, and that Reverie's taking it very, very badly at the very beginning of the visual novel. But yeah. So after that whole little part at the beginning, we're shown that it's more or less because of Gary that these two, I suppose, will end up together. Because, I mean, at first he's like, oh, who's this guy who's like talking to my brother? And then when he finds out that Reverie wants to keep his brother company, Duncan, it's like, oh, interesting. Why don't you stick with us? And Duncan's like, no. This is like the night before I am scheduled to leave. Why are you doing this? And like basically throughout the entire night, he's kind of like, okay, you can go now. But then Gary's like, nope, you are staying with us. And I'm kind of getting that it's probably because he wants Reverie to do something for Duncan that obviously Gary cannot do for him because, he's leaving. And we do see a little bit more, we do see little snippets of Duncan's personality and Reveries, but mostly Duncan, where he's presented as this like larger than life person who's very selfless, who's very heroic and whatnot, but at the same time who's also not somebody who knows how to just sit and settle. And again, this might just be sort of like a glimpse as to why at the very beginning of the visual novel you see Duncan essentially walking away from Reverie to who knows what, either to his death, to do something that only he can do, or to like disappear into the next adventure or whatever. But considering the fact that Reverie is very heartbroken for Duncan's decision, it probably can't be a good thing. But yeah, we can also see that there may be, Gary is sort of like, oh yeah, my brother, he's gonna go off to do this whole cool thing. He is not entirely okay with it. But the mask hasn't slipped yet. But it's gonna slip literally like in the next part. Spoiler. But yeah, his brother clearly looks up to him, but he clearly has issue with what's going on. But anyways, so what do you think so far of Hey Moon Eyes? And this is the visual novel that, at least for, I think I made it public for everyone, that I basically recorded like 6 hours straight, but it did end up being shorter than that. I think it was only like 5 hours. So there was like a good hour that was cut out, which was just, like bad takes and whatnot. And admittedly, towards the end of editing this, I was like, okay, hurry up, I'm getting tired of this. But yeah, I do like this visual novel, and I do look forward to more of it, hopefully in smaller little bits. But yeah, so, write down in the comments what you think, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Hey Moon Eyes yourself or stay up to date with what's going on with it, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which will have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download and play the game yourself. If they do have any form of support, like a Patreon or a Ko-fi, I will link that down in the description as well. If you would like to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, which gives you earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. This was recorded at the 17th, I want to say, but it's not coming out until like the 22nd of May. But it's also not coming out until basically like the half of June, the like latter half of June. So yeah, if you are a channel member, then you get to watch this earlier. If you're not, then oh well, you have to wait until June. But yeah, and it's a nice way to say like, hey, I like your videos. Here's money on a monthly basis, and they go, hey, thank you. Here's the videos that I have scheduled. Watch them. And if you can't do that, there is Ko-fi. Doesn't get you any early access, but like it is appreciated. Any form of support is appreciated. If you like the videos, give them a like. If you like my content in general, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do have a throne too, so yeah. I do have something on my throne, which, if somebody buys it for me, I will record myself building it, or I will make a live stream of myself building it. It's a quote-unquote Lego set of the SR2 Normandy. But yeah, anyways, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye.